Howdy folks, welcome back to Out of Spec Testing and welcome to a beautiful sunny day with a giant beast of a vehicle. This is the Cadillac Escalade IQ 2025 model, and I have with me a Mercedes branded Alpitronic HYC 400, which should be able to deliver full juice. That's right, look out electrical grid. I'm about to do a 10% challenge with this thing to see how it fares in essentially a road trip simulation. Road trip simulation. What that means is plugging into a charger at 10%. That's kind of why I would call it the 10% challenge. Charge for 15 minutes and then blast to 80 miles an hour to see how far we can go before it dips back down to 10%. It's kind of simulating a road trip hopping scenario. It's a very cool way to put cars against each other to see how they fare in fair conditions. Conditions today, by the way, 75 degrees and sunny. We should see it warm up to about maybe 85 by the time I finish this test. It is a black car. This is $160,000 prices tested, so the AC will be ripping. But what we do is we set the climate between 68 to 72, whatever feels comfortable in that range, on its most eco-friendly setting. There's not really an eco setting in this car, although the rear climates will all be set to eco, so they probably won't even be on because it won't detect any rear passengers. We also use an eco driving mode if there is one, not really in this thing. So it just doesn't really scream eco-friendly, does it? But other than that, we'll drive at 80 miles an hour GPS verified and just see how far we can go. Really good numbers in this test are like 100 miles, 150 miles is crazy good. Really bad numbers in this test are like 60, 70, maybe even 50 miles. We recently tested the Blazer EV SS and it did poorly because what we do is we charge this car for 15 minutes with the AC on, because that's what people would typically do when they go to a charger, plug in, they'd rip climate, and that way they're comfortable if they are sitting in their car. So I pulled in here with 11%. We have 8 kilowatts of climate control running right now, which is crazy. Draining this thing down to 10%. The moment it drops to 10% is when I will plug it in. We'll start the timer, we'll test the handshake time, but also we'll see how much energy we can pull in 15 minutes and then see how far we can drive on that energy. This thing, yeah, it's a brick. It's huge. This is the Luxury 2 model. Like I said, 160 grand, over 200 kilowatt hours. GM claims 205-ish in the 24 module battery pack. We've actually pulled like 215 plus out of it, so it may be closer to 215, 220 kilowatt hours, which is just insane. By the way, the battery of this car weighs nearly 3,000 pounds, which is more than some cars. Absolutely crazy. This Cadillac Escalade, by the way, weighs the same as a gas Escalade plus a Toyota Camry. Fun fact. We do have a charge port in the rear here, natively working with, well, not native, but the right location for Tesla V3 superchargers. I actually tested it one yesterday. Doesn't charge that well because it's a, well, high voltage car, so it drops the voltage in half basically to then charge. But we are 9 kilowatts of climate control ripping. Holy crap. 11%. Hopefully dropping to 10 in just a second, but it is a huge battery. Then we'll plug it in, see how it goes. All right, we just dropped to 10%. Going to go ahead and start this charger. Plug in to start your session. Okay, I had to use my phone to activate the charger, but we are counting down for the actual handshake time, which always takes a little bit. Definitely not the 7 seconds you'd find on a Tesla supercharger with a Tesla, but let's see how this does. Come on, I'm hearing clicking, I'm hearing contactors. So many contactors. Oh, I just heard a beep. Okay, so that was 33 seconds, and now we start the actual timer. Let's see how much energy we can draw. Really cool to see that Alpi gives you a charge time there. So, and a guesstimation to 80%, an hour and 42 minutes? There's no way. Well, we're ripping up to full power here, so that's good. These things should give me everything they can. This car will accept, we've seen, GM advertises 350 kilowatts. We've seen up to like 380, I think, in certain cases. So we'll see what it actually ramps up to. These are not actually liquid cooled cables, so that could be an issue, but this is the highest power charger we can actually find to actually give this thing full juice. So hoping for the best, and also with AC running, hoping that doesn't derate our charge like we've seen with some other GM vehicles. So AC is in here, feels nice, just running at 70, I almost said 70 miles an hour, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Gotta love that GM chime. And yeah, we'll just let it sit for a bit. 14 more minutes. Come on, baby, send the juice. Let's see how far we can go. That doesn't look good. Oh wait, active session. Oh, phew, okay. Made it look like there wasn't actually a thing. I may have to keep hitting buttons to check on the session, but 7 kilowatt hours sent in only a minute and a half. Still rampant at 355. Maybe we've settled in there. That might be the peak we see. I don't know whose fault this is, but the fact that I have to keep doing this is crazy. They should just let the screen sit here until you actually turn it away. Although I guess it could make sense for the people who are sharing. I've actually chose this charger very specifically, number 2 here in the Alpitronic Mercedes setup, because number 1 is accessible charging. It's meant to be a handicap stall, so use last. Single cable. Number 2, single cable. You can tell they can actually route up to 4 cables on these things. But numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all dual cables. So people could actually pull in and then split my charging, which I wouldn't want with a bad boy like this. All right, well, it has sent the juice. It peaked at 365 kilowatts was the most I think I saw, but we are now dropping a bit. So I don't know if that's charging curve or a cooling issue. I also don't know if it's a cable thing or the car thing. Notably, like I said earlier, these GM products can sometimes have some major charging derates by climate control actually running. And we have to run climate control as part of this test. All right, halfway into our charging session, 28%. So we've gotten 18%. Mathematically speaking, we could end this with 46% if it just doubles, but that's not going to be the case because we've definitely ramped down. So that is a bummer. And again, I don't actually know whether it's the car or the charger, but this is the charger with the best possible case for us because it's the only one that could send the full juice. I hate this. So we'll see what we get. Maybe we'll end up with like 40%. That would still be quite a few miles because this thing is such a beast. Probably should have mentioned it up front, but 460 miles is the EPA range for this huge thing because of the, again, gigantic battery pack. That would be assuming roughly low 2 miles per kilowatt hour. Granted, that's not going to be what we see at 80 miles an hour. Doing this test at a bit higher speed, partially because people have complained that our range test isn't necessarily like user representative because so many people are traveling with higher than 70 mile an hour speed limits, which is valid. The range test is more meant to be pitting every car against each other in a standardized way. This way, we can actually test a bit more real world road tripping scenario. So I'm expecting 1 point something miles per kilowatt hour, maybe 1.8, 1.9 for being a brick like this, although it is a bit more efficient than the Hummer. You know, the Hummer is an actual brick. This one has some levels of aerodynamics, maybe, especially here with the slope back coupe-like roof. That should help a little bit. The Escalade IQ L is coming out next year for the 2026 model, and that has a squared off back, a little bit longer of a shape, should have a little tiny bit less range, but probably not too much different. 45 seconds left. Come on, let's do this. I was hoping we'd have like 40 something percent, but no, it's slowed down so much. We're not even gonna hit top of 30s. Jeez. And stop. All right, really nice that they have a timer on this screen so I didn't have to like use my own, but please show me the details. Yes, 63.9 kilowatt hours, 10 to 37%. Ignore the cost. They did give us a nice little deal for this, but wow. Okay, not as much as I was hoping. Let's go see how far we can go. Actually unacceptable that a $160,000 car has like this thing. Actually unacceptable. Okay, like I said, no eco mode, but there is eco AC for the second row and third row. Front row, we're just gonna play with between 68 or 72. I have my mode set on just the most comfortable stuff. Acceleration feel, relaxed. That's the closest to eco mode we can actually feel. So going back to vehicle status here really quick, trips, trip information, just gonna reset everything just in case. And there we go. All right, we'll see what we actually get going forward. I got the trip saved here, my night camera there, and we're gonna move on and hit the freeway, do 80 miles an hour. And yeah, not feeling super optimistic, but this thing has a huge battery. Maybe we'll be surprised. All right, we are cruising. 81 miles an hour indicated is actually 80 GPS. And yeah, heading towards the mountains. It's kind of a loop style test. We're actually driving on a loop as well, so we'll be counteracting any sort of actual elevation gain or change, any sort of wind. We actually don't have any wind right now, so it's really, really ideal conditions for this test, giving this thing the best chance besides, well, whatever happened with the charging session. But again, the cables felt cool to the touch, which is really surprising if it was going to be like a cable overheating issue. I wish cars would say precisely whether it's the car or the charger causing a derate. That's just transparent information every car needs to have in the future, because that will really ease people's fear around DC fast charging in the public. Locked in with Super Cruise. It is honestly a pretty good system, but here's the thing. It won Motor Trend's Tech of the Year last year, and it's just not the Tech of the Year system. Like, it is pretty good, but like, it'll just randomly cancel itself. It sometimes does lane changes, sometimes doesn't. And yeah, it's just limited to, well, this is Super Cruise before the new generation, so this can't do stuff on non-pre-mapped roads. At least the Super Cruise, starting with Vistic, can do lane centering on non-pre-mapped roads and then seamlessly transition to hands-free Super Cruise. That's awesome. It is, however, it leagues behind Tesla's FSD, and it's just frustrating that they won't give Tesla FSD Tech of the Year for obvious political reasons. Either way, if you want a car this big, yeah, Tesla doesn't offer anything remotely as big. The Model X is just, that's a rough sell right there. So, got this Escalade. Super Cruise works pretty well for me right now. Just a few issues here and there, but still makes it easy to chew through miles. We're doing 1.5 miles per kilowatt hour right now, so not amazing. And when we get down to about 23%, that's when I'll turn around and then redo the loop. And that is, yeah, that's when we'll put the charger back into the nav, so it'll do preconditioning to the next charging stop. That's what you would also do in a road trip scenario. So just trying to emulate a road trip as best as we can. It feels a little weird doing a road trip to nowhere, but hey, all good. All right, just said hands-free driving unavailable, lane ending. Definitely not ending. Lanes are perfectly marked. This is just one of my issues. But I did just talk to Brandon Flash. Shout out to our friend Brandon Flash, who works for Albitronic. He was able to check and confirm the charger had no derating from its side. The cable never got hot. The pins didn't even get hot. So all the derating we saw was GM specifically, basically due to climate control. That's my theory. When I get back, I'm going to charge it again without climate after the test, but I'll still let you guys know how it does. In fact, maybe I'll do my own video on that, because that's pretty interesting. All right, coming right up here to a good exit to flip around. We've used about half of our range, so we're going to flip back and go the other direction and basically undo the loop we just did. Also putting the charger into the nav. That way it'll do any sort of preconditioning to make sure the car is ready to accept full charge once again. That helps my little charging test I'm going to do, but that's also just how we operate this test. Even though we don't monitor the second charge, we're just going to see how many miles we end up with as we cross the threshold of 10% on the highway. I've got to say, some pros and cons. Pros, I mean, the car is comfortable. Air suspension is fantastic. Software is really pretty decent. Not perfect, but I think hopefully I can, I did like a software quick dive for the Bits channel with Colton, but I'm hoping I can do like a software deep dive once I have one of these for a longer period of time, where I can actually live with it, experience all the quirks and features, as Doug would put it, and live with the app and all that stuff. That would be really nice. But I mean, look at that potato camera quality. That's not $160,000. NVH is really pretty nice. Feels pretty isolated in here, but once again, it is kind of a big behemoth of a brick heading down the road, so you do have some inherent challenges with that. And well, one of my biggest quirks with this car is no Apple Music, no Apple Podcasts, no way for me to connect my phone other than Bluetooth, which I refuse to do because Bluetooth is worse quality and just makes it really annoying for filming and stuff. So yeah, they really alienate the Apple user, which is frustrating. I don't know if that's GM or Android Automotive. I don't know who's at fault, but either way, there are workarounds they could do and they just aren't. So it's kind of frustrating to see companies not play together. Yeah, maybe it's heated. I don't know. I don't know their dynamic or their relationship. So I'm just using AirPods to listen to a podcast and take phone calls. But Steering wheel fit and finish feels pretty nice. Obviously, that's pretty rough implementation. All the fingerprints on the screen, don't like that. The screen looks cool, 55-inch screen across the dash, but that makes this really far ahead. I wish it was like more driver cockpit focused, like think the new C8 Corvette. That's a pretty cool screen implementation, which also has CarPlay. Yeah, CarPlay is not even good though either, so I should do a hit piece on not a hit piece. I should do a criticism and, I don't know, just a review of CarPlay, because there are some things it does well, but also it's been riding its own coattails for far too long. But the sound system's pretty good. You have heated and ventilated and massaging seats. All that's turned off right now because we don't run that on our efficiency tests. But yeah, 40 speaker AKG sound system. You have the captain's chairs in the back. All the chairs have their own headrest speakers, passenger display, rear passenger displays. This thing is fully decked out, which is pretty sweet. I mean, this is a baller ride for sure. And there we go, hit 10% just as I change highways to go back to the charger. Absolutely perfect. And nearly 100 miles on the dot, on the nose, whatever the phrase is. 100.6, probably close to 100.5, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think we'll round up to 101 at that point. So that's what we got, 1.7 miles per kilowatt hour. So that's good, question mark? Let me give you my final thoughts after I get this back to the charger and plug it in and do a little bit more of a charge test situation to see just how much it was affected by the AC running. All right, guys, well, I just charged for 15 minutes without climate running, just for curiosity, and we put in nearly 84 kilowatt hours. So like an extra 20 kilowatt hours. We held peak much longer. We still had 180 kilowatts when we got to 15 minutes, whereas before we had dropped to like 139 or something like that. So we could have done maybe 30 to 40% more distance just because of the AC on here. That's honestly a really huge effect in my opinion. I have a whole other video on doing a 10 to 80% charging test without AC on the Bits channel. But for this 10% challenge, okay, 100 miles, not a bad result. We say really anything 100 miles or more, pretty impressive. Definitely one of the leaders, but like only because of just how freaking huge it is, how huge the battery is, how high it can charge at peak. But it is crazy to see how quickly that ramps down because of, well, the climate control in the car really taking cooling power away from the battery. That's what I can tell. So confirmed, no charging derate from the charger. It was all the car. Once again, I checked to see if this was up to date. All the software according to the car is up to date. So if there is another update that the dealership is required to do, that's surprising to me. Not an ideal customer experience. Cool that that's an option, but like that's not our experience here. So if that's the case, Cadillac, do the update, let us have another car to test out. We'll be happy to test whatever we can. That's still pretty wild to me. Anyways, that's another 10% challenge in the books. Hopefully we get another one of these on test to do range test and full like 0 to 100 charging test, maybe on multiple chargers. Again, I'd have to take out a home equity loan to do that charge because public charging is expensive and this is 200 plus kilowatt hours of that. So holy crap, that's just so much money and energy. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you on another one again very soon. Check out other videos we've done on this on the other channels as well. Cheers.